Hey guys, Shelreth here with another exciting day for Fire Emblem Heroes. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of the Keep or Send Home series. We're going to be talking about green heroes. I just wanted to start off before we get into the heroes. I just wanted to say I appreciate all the comments and the feedback about improving the videos and of my pronunciation. Hopefully I'm going to keep it real simple today, hopefully not mess up too many names. I apologize for that again. And then also, I just want to thank everybody for the positive discussions we've had. I know not everyone's going to agree on the decisions I made for Keep or Send Home, especially around Catria. But I think we've had some good discussions, and we've really made some good strategies and ideas of how we can use certain heroes. And as the meta shapes itself, I think we'll start to see some of maybe those heroes that aren't don't really have too much use or support. Those units might get used. So let's go ahead and jump into the green heroes. We're going to talk about Anna. She's your starter green hero. She's not super great. I'd say that she's a send home. I know one of the comments mentioned that we can't send home some of the starter heroes, mainly because I think Nintendo doesn't want you to accidentally send all your heroes home and then you can't do any battling. But she just doesn't offer too much. Her final weapon does have really high might, but it does give a very not so useful skill. I just don't think that that's going to be super useful. Also, her 150% damage would be really great, but it's on a 5-turn cooldown, and she doesn't have any way to really reduce that. She has to rely on her speed. You guys can see we don't have the 5-star stat for her speed, but at 4 stars, she's only at 4 speed. Not going to be super great, and she doesn't really have any way to get more speed. I think she'd be a contender if this was actually a plus speed to herself, but it's not. It's AoE resistance buff, which is pretty good, but I just don't think she's going to be a contender. Also, there's some heroes in the green heroes that are just amazingly strong, so she's going to get outshined pretty hard here. So she's going to be a send home. Next, we're going to talk about Arthur. Arthur is also going to be someone you want to send home. He suffers from the same issue that Sully had. So he's already good against spear users or the blue heroes. Okay, so he already has that advantage, and then his axe gives him another advantage against blue heroes, and then he gets another follow-up attack against spear users. It's just super redundant. I know he's just going to completely annihilate any spear user that he fights. Other than that, he's just not going to offer too much. He does get a little bit tanky with this 5 max HP, and swapping places with an adjacent ally could have some use, but with 2 skills going to being even better against blue heroes, I just don't think he's going to have much value. Unfortunately, I think there is a place for, getting the weapon triangle advantage. That skill is actually beneficial, but when you tack on another skill, you're kind of doing overkill. Most of the battles when you have an advantage are going to last probably 1 turn, maybe 2 turns. There isn't a need to completely overkill and do 60 damage to someone who only has 39 health. That you're just kind of wasting skills, and you're going to be less tanky and less supportive of the rest of your team by being able to do that. Alright, so Arthur's going to be a send home. So Beruka is also going to be a send home. She does have the accelerate special trigger, so every other turn she is going to get a 50% damage boost, and she does get +7 defense, but that's only for herself, and she can swap places with an enemy after she attacks. Just don't see that much use out of her. She doesn't have some kind of crazy damage. Her weapon was only a +11. So as much as the 50% damage dealt is going to be a boost to that, she is just very selfish in that she only grants herself extra defense, and it's only below 50% life, and she's a flyer. So any archer is going to take her out really quickly in basically one shot. So she just doesn't have the tankiness to really take advantage of the less than 50% life. So I just don't think she's gonna. She just doesn't offer enough support for a team. So she's gonna be sent home. So Camilla. So I love Camilla for two really big reasons, and that's because she has AoE damage, and this is going to be pure damage. So just to explain this a little bit, so there's a difference between pure damage and damage that is reduced by resistance and defense. When we talk about the ninjas or the assassins, they have skills that are pure damage. So Camilla has a skill that does pure damage. There's another AoE skill that does the hero's attack minus their defense or resistance, and that one's not as good. I'd say pure damage is good because there's going to be heroes that you're going to be not effective against, and so this gives you a way to kind of counter that. She also has the double attack. Okay, so she gets the double attack and she gets a +6 speed. Camilla is crazy good. If you have a Camilla, she's a keep. Build her. She's amazing. Her one drawback is she is a flyer in the current meta that's shaping right now. Archers are very popular, so she does have that one drawback, but she does an insane amount of damage, and plus on top of that, she does AoE damage. So she's someone that you'd want to build your team around. So if you got her, congrats to you, because she's a really awesome unit, and she's someone that's really great. All right, so Gunter. So if you guys watched one of my first videos, I actually used Gunter because I had two of them to prove that leveling, how leveling worked. Gunter, I just don't think he brings enough support. I think he's going to be another one that you're going to want to send home. He does have this attack and speed +6 with cavalry. I think if you kind of built a cavalry team where I think there's another cavalry user that gives you +6 defense and +6 res or resistance, and those combined could be extremely powerful because they're going to be buffing each other so much. And then if there's a third cavalry user, let's say you grabbed a cavalry mage, there's going to be just a huge amount of stats going all over the place. But other than that very specific team, I don't think he brings enough. Spending his whole turn to give someone 20% more damage to the weapon triangle bonus, I don't think it's going to be too worth it. And then he gets +6 defense when he attacks. Again, he's decent if you built an entire team around him, but overall I just don't think he's going to be someone that's going to see a lot of play, so I'd say send him home. Alright, so the first very difficult name for me, Cherche, I think is how you say that, so bear with me if that's not correct. Cherche is someone that you're going to want to send home as well. She gets +3 attack as one of her final skills. Not super great. And then also an AoE defense buff, which is good. but she doesn't really bring anything else. Pivot, I could see some use sometimes, um, but she just really doesn't have enough. She seems to be a little bit lackluster, especially because her attack with this is only 12, which is a little bit lower. We've seen some pretty high, like 14, 15, 16 is a really good attack. Um, and so I just don't think she has enough to really be um, a contender. So I'd say that to go ahead and send her home. All right, so Frederick is going to be someone again gonna send home. Uh, has the AoE defense, which is good, but his skill 3-turn cooldown for possibly 30% more damage, and that could be a 30% damage debuff on an enemy, but 3 turns, so it's not going to be till your third turn, third engagement, before you're going to actually see that. I just don't see that being super useful. Warping to an ally when you are less than 50% life. Oh no, this is where you warp to an adjacent ally that has 50% less life. That would be super great if you got a turn right after, but you're going to spend an entire turn to get over to that unit. They're already at less than 50% life. There's a reason that they got to that point. They're most likely going to wind up dying. I just don't see a lot of use out of Wings of Mercy as a skill. I just don't think it's going to be too useful, and I don't think he has really enough. Again, we see this 12 might, not too high of a damager, and doesn't really have any damage boosts. So I'm going to say go ahead and send him home. Alright, so Hawkeye. Now on rank boosted tier list, this guy is a rank C. So is Arthur and the last couple heroes that we talked about. Camilla's an S rank, but this guy is a rank C for some reason I can't understand. This guy is a keep. This guy is really great because he has the AoE damage. So okay, we just talked about Camilla's. We got damage attack minus the enemy's defense or resistance. Now you say, okay, well that's got a 5-turn cooldown. Now I agree, but we have accelerate special trigger. So in 3 turns rather than 5, he's going to be doing that AoE damage, which is a really big deal. So his attack is a little bit low on, or his might is a little bit low on his weapon, but he does get this +6 attack when he attacks. And also, he gets this -5 attack on enemies within 2 spaces, which is a pretty large AoE. So he has some very good utility. He's got the AoE damage. It's not pure damage, but it's still good. And then he's got an AoE attack debuff and buffs his own attack. He's definitely a contender. He's someone that you'd want to keep. He does have some support skills, and he is able to do a good bit of damage just because he does have this +6 attack. And so that's why I think I would say that Death Blow with the granting +6 attack when you're attacking is better than a +3 attack overall. That's just my opinion, but I think that when you're attacking, it's way more important. A lot of times, especially when you're moving around a map, you're playing defensive through your movements, and you really wait to the position or to the point where you can actually make an attack. So the dragons are really more for when you can play, where you can run out into the fray and get attacked and then retaliate on everyone else and counterattack on everyone else. So really, I think he's very underrated, especially based on rank boosted tier list. I would not agree. I'd say he's probably a rank A, and definitely not a rank C. You can't really compare Hawkeye's skills and Arthur's skills and say that they're both in the same league. That's just not the case. So he's definitely a keep. Alright, so Hector, the god among all mortals. Hector is a keep, just like Camilla. He is just crazy good. Okay. Okay, you can see, remember what I was saying, 14, 15, 16 is a good might on your weapon. Okay, he's at 16. So he's doing a heck of a lot of damage. Not only is he doing a lot of damage, but he can also distant counter. So some of you guys on Reddit have seen the post that's very popular, the most powerful skill with a picture of Hector with laser eyes shooting people, because that skill is truly amazing. And he also gains AoE attack buff and armored. He can actually make speed and attack. If you're not running an armored team, I'd stick with the +3 attack, so that way everyone's still getting benefit. If you do have another armored ally, you could definitely use that skill. Again, except for specific team strategies, you're not going to see a lot of those tier 3s with the specific types, because a lot of times you want to differentiate your types, so that way you have a versatile. So if your whole team's armored, your one disadvantage is you're going to be moving extremely slow. So there is drawbacks. Like I said, if you're not using another armored ally, go for the +3 attack. And then also, what makes him super great, reduces damage inflicted by attacks from adjacent foes by 50%. 50% on a 3-turn cooldown. That's crazy. You're taking half damage. You're already armored. Really, the only way to kill a Hector is using a mage or using an archer. But a lot of times archers do reduce damage to armored units, so a mage is going to be your best bet. He does have that one flaw. He's weak to mages, but most armored are. But other than that, he is an amazing unit. Also gets this unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack when attacked above 80%. Really powerful. His weapon, again, at 16 attack. He's a really amazing unit. If you got him, congrats to you. This guy is really awesome. He's someone you could build a team around. Alright, so Raven. So Raven is a keep. Raven is actually really awesome because he has the heal for 50% of the damage dealt. It's a 4-turn cooldown, but he attacks twice. He does get that -5 speed, but below 50% health, he gets +7 speed. Now, the reason that I think that Hector works, because all of his skills actually go together. Okay, so in the scenario that, okay, he takes some damage, he gets below 50% life, he gets that +7 speed, he's going to attack twice and possibly attack 4 times, meaning that his counter is going to wind up going and he's going to heal up. So he's going to heal up past that that 50% life. And so he has the potential to just outlast other heroes, because he's getting knocked below 50% life, then healing back up past 50% life, and just kind of staying in that combo. Also with getting an AoE defense debuff, that's just really amazing. The one thing that I could see kind of stopping him is a lot of times, or not a lot of times, but sometimes you'll do an attack where you're supposed to double attack and you might kill the guy in one shot, and so his turn count is not going to go down as much. But other than that, in a fight, he's going to do really amazing, and he's going to be a very tanky unit as long as he can survive that first initial attack. He's going to just bounce right back up. There is a issue with this, I see, is just because he's a green axe and he's wielding a sword. I think someone pointed that out before, but that's just something that I saw that and that kind of bothered me, that he's an axe user but he's wielding a sword. Alright, so Raven's definitely a keep. Let's go on to Bartre, is maybe how you pronounce it. I'd say this guy is going to be a send home. He has the same thing as Jagan, where he takes 6 damage. Now he is an infantry, so the one of the issues that I brought up with Jagan was his cavalry, because so he can move 3 spaces. Some people said, okay, we don't have to move 3 spaces, but the whole point of the idea behind cavalry is that you can move way faster. So um, this guy's not going to move as fast, and he does not have, and he has the same issue where he's going to be taking a lot of damage. I just don't think that attack, speed, defense, and resistance is going to be really great. I think if it was, +6 attack and speed, or maybe, attack and defense, there's some possibility, but you're getting a very small boost, and you're taking 6 damage, and that's going to be pure damage again. So without a dedicated healer, there's just a lot of weight that's going to be placed on your healer to say, okay, well, if someone else gets attacked, do I just not attack with him? Because then I can't heal both of my guys at the same time, unless I have an AoE healer. But it's going to be a lot of damage. It's a possibility that maybe if you did have an AoE healer, you might be able to kind of work some team. I just don't think he offers enough. His skill is Smite, has some uses similar to Effie, but I just don't think he really offers enough. His might on his weapon's only 12. I just don't think he's gonna see too much play. He's just not too great. So I'd say send him home. All right, Barst. So Barst is also going to be someone to send home. He does get to attack twice, which is nice, but he doesn't really benefit too much from that. A very low weapon might, which is not good on someone who's attacking twice. He gets allies +4 attack, so that's not going to benefit him. And he gets to push away an opponent after combat. Has some potential uses, but really, if you have someone who's attacking twice, you really want to make sure that you have a skill that's actually going to take advantage of that. He doesn't really have too much support other than an AoE attack buff. I don't think he's going to see too much use. I'd say he's a send home. Alright, so Minerva. This again was someone who was on rank boosted and was placed in the C tier. I would say she's an A tier. She's definitely a keep. Okay. Why? Because every other turn she's going to be taking less damage from ranged attacks. So she is flying, so she's going to be weak to archers, and she's going to be taking reduced damage from them by 30%. So that's actually pretty good. She does have that same kind of skill that flying allies, defense and resistance +4. If you're not going to be using other flyers, stick with the +3 defense, which is still good because it's AoE. Life and death is pretty good. I think it's a pretty good trade-off. Attack and speed is a pretty big deal. And again, she has a 16 might weapon. She can do a lot of damage. Okay, because of attack and speed, having that 16 might, I don't know what her base speed is, but I imagine she's going to be attacking twice a lot. And so she's attacking twice, accelerating that cooldown, so it's a possibility that she could even get almost every turn where she's taking reduced damage from ranged enemies. So she has some very good use. Again, I don't know if you compared her with like Arthur, who's both in the C tier. I just don't agree with that. I think she's more on the level with Hawkeye. So she definitely has some good uses. Don't think she's she's useless. She's a 5-star, and she's definitely actually really good. So don't count her out. Okay, so Sheena. Sheena's actually really good. She's a keep. So there's no way to really break Sheena down. Okay? And this is why. Because neutralize is effective against bonuses. Okay? I haven't seen that anywhere else. That's insanely powerful. Because there isn't really any way to do extra damage to her. Because she's armored, some of the sword users have, deals extra damage to armored units. That completely nullifies that. Okay? And not only that, but even mages and archers, she's going to be taking reduced damage by 30%. And again, this is 2 turn, but she has the accelerate special trigger. So that's going to be every other turn. She's going to be taking less damage from ranged, which the main other counter to armored is mages. So she has that counter as well. And then she also gives AoE defense buff and a defense resistance buff +6 against other armored allies. So she can be very good if you, again, setting up that armored allies to get all those maximum bonuses. But she's truly an amazing tank. She's just really good at tanking. Not so much in the damage field, just because, okay, this might is 11. But she's just an amazing tank, has a good support skill, and she's just not, she doesn't really have a counter, a hard counter. Like every other hero has one type of hero that's good against them. Sheena does not. Okay, so we're almost done. We're going to work on Faye. So Faye is a keep. Faye is really, really, really amazing. Okay, her weapon, 13 might, so it's average, but grants all allies AoE adjacent allies defense and resistance. Okay, then on her other skill, -5 attack on an AoE debuff. So again, that's a huge shift in power. Okay, so you're talking about a 9 shift in power. So that's a huge deal, and that's all AoE. So it's not just one person gets that kind of shift in power. It's 9 power shift in AoE. Okay, not only that, but at the start of every second turn, she restores 10 HP. That's a huge deal. So she can become innately tanky as long as she doesn't get one shot, because she's going to be able to heal. And then as soon as she ends her turn, or as soon as she starts her turn, right on that next when she starts her turn, she's going to be already more tanky. So she's a really good unit. Drawback has some uses, but really I'd say she's going to be wanting to get into the front lines and kind of start making that power shift. It's going to be very strong. So Faye's definitely a keep. Alright, so next we're going to go to Nino. So mages haven't been super great. There's a couple mages that are really good, but mages just aren't really powerful in this game as of right now. Nino, I'd say, is someone you're going to send home. She gets this resistance bonus, which would be good against other tome users. I just don't think she's going to be very good, just because she has the possibility to doing pretty good damage. She's got a 13, but again, that's kind of average. And then she has the same skill drawback. I'd say that she would actually get more use out of the skill drawback than Faye would. And then she gets this AoE attack buff, but I just don't think she's going to see too much use. So Cecillia. So Cecillia is very interesting because she is a cavalry mage user. So you guys saw yesterday that there was absolutely no blue cavalry tome users. Everyone was all infantry. So this is a pretty big deal. Not only that, but she gets this weapon advantage versus colorless. So again, archers are a pretty big part of the meta right now. She gets that advantage versus them. She does get +3 attack. Again, I think +6 during attacking during initiation is actually more powerful, but this is still pretty good. And then escape route. This is a way for her to get out, so enables units, enables her when she's below 50% health to warp to another ally. That skill I think is actually useful. Even though she is a tome user, most of the time she is going to probably wind up getting one shot. I think escape route is way better than Wings of Mercy, just because if she's below 50% life, you want to get her out of there and reposition her. And Wings of Mercy is kind of the opposite of that. Someone's dying and you're trying to get over there, but then you waste your turn getting over there. Escape route actually has some use to say, okay, if I can reposition myself away from the fight and force the users to try coming near me, she's a cavalry and she can actually get away because she can move up to 3 spaces. So I think she is actually a keep, just because there is quite a bit of strategy that can be used with her. Rally resistance, I don't think would be too useful. I'd say the +4 attack is probably the best one. The rally attack is probably the better one, but she's still a keep. She is the only cavalry mage that we've talked about, and the only cavalry mage that we'll talk about until we get to the red heroes. Alright, and last but not least, Merric. Alright, so Merric has an AoE, but it's a 5-turn cooldown. I don't think Merric is someone you're going to want to keep. I think you're going to send Merric home. He does get a little bit tanky with this +5 max HP. Does have an AoE resistance buff. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any way to really spring this skill into action. He does have a pretty high might on his weapon, but his speed 5 to 8. If this was maybe like 9 to 11, or maybe like 8 to 11, and he could get high enough speed, maybe you could make him work. But I just don't. He just doesn't have. He's not going to get enough use out of this growing wind, which is a really good skill, but he'd need to have the attack twice, and he doesn't have any way to boost his speed. I just don't think he's that good. So I'd say that he's going to be sent home. So that's it for the green heroes. Next we'll be doing the red heroes. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing a lot more content. This is just the first series that I wanted to do, just so we could get some idea of what heroes to work on, because a lot of what's going on right now, you're doing a lot of summons, you're getting all these heroes, you're saying, okay, how do I sort what I should work on, what I shouldn't work on? And I think this is the best way to get a good idea of like, okay, these are good units, and these units probably aren't going to be too good. So if you guys enjoyed, please like, subscribe, comment if you have any disagreements, or if you guys agree, tell me about your experiences with some of the heroes. And I love to have that discussion, and we can talk about it more. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.